Hi, today we are going to talk about a man who changed South Africa forever. In a world divided by oppression and race, one man stood against the odds, who spent 27 years in prison yet emerged stronger than ever, a champion of human rights and equality. This is the story of Nelson Mandela. Early life. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918 in the small village called Meso of South Africa. His father was a chief of Thembu tribe, but when Mandela was just a child, his father passed away. Young Mandela was then raised by a royal family, where he learned the values of leadership and justice. From an early age, Mandela knew something was wrong in his country. The white minority ruled over the black majority. Racial segregation, known as apartheid, was enforced. Black South Africans had no rights, no land, and no voice. Becoming a freedom fighter. Mandela studied law in the University of Fort Hare. Later in Johannesburg, he became the country's first black law firm owner. But as racial injustice worsened, he knew legal action alone was not enough. In 1944, he joined the African National Congress (ANC). He began fighting against apartheid. At first, Mandela believed in peaceful resistance, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. But after years of brutal government crackdown, he saw that words alone would not bring change. He co-founded the ANC's armed wing, Umkhonto we Sizwe, meaning the spear of the nation. The government saw Mandela as a threat. In 1962, he was arrested, sentenced to life imprisonment for conspiring to overthrow the state. He was sent to Robben Island, a brutal prison where he spent 18 years in isolation. But even in prison, Mandela never gave up hopes. He secretly wrote letters, smuggled out political messages, learned Afrikaans, the language of the oppressors, to understand their way of thinking. He knew that one day freedom would come. Release and becoming president. After 27 years behind the bar, Nelson Mandela was finally freed. On February 11, 1990, his first word to the world: I have walked the long road to freedom, but the struggle is not yet over. Instead of seeking revenge, he called for peace. He worked with the very people who once imprisoned him to end apartheid. In 1994, South Africa held its first free election. Nelson Mandela was elected the country's first black president. His leadership was a symbol of forgiveness. He united a broken nation, prevented civil war, introduced policies that empowered black South Africans without punishing the white minority. Fun facts about Nelson Mandela. Before we go, here are some fun facts about Nelson Mandela. Fact number 1. He had a boxing career. Mandela was passionate about boxing. He trained regularly in his youth. Boxing taught him discipline and resistance. Fact number 2. His real name wasn't Nelson. His birth name was Roli Lala, which means troublemaker. A teacher later gave him the name Nelson. Fact number 3. He loved Hawaiian shirts. Mandela often wore bright, colorful shirts instead of formal suits. His style was unique among world leaders. Fact number 4. He inspired a sports movie, the 2009 film Invictus, starring Morgan Freeman. Tell us how Nelson Mandela used rugby to unite South Africa. Nelson Mandela's life teaches us that no matter how dark the time is, there is always hope. His legacy reminds us that change is possible if we fight for it. Thank you for watching. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to share your stories. How did Nelson Mandela inspire you? Your struggle against racism, discrimination, and oppression, and how did you fight it?